Okay, so what the hell was Viva Piñata? Because my childhood brain remembers it as bright colors, happy animals, and the crushing anxiety of realizing my goddamn pond wasn't perfectly symmetrical. But through all the nostalgia I have for this game, I started to think deeper into it. And let me tell you, this fever dream of a world is way more messed up than it appears on the surface. So before we get much further, let's take a trip back to Piñata Island. Get a little lost in paradise. And see how Microsoft milked this tip dry. Whoa, wait, hang on. That is not a sexual joke. I'm serious. The abbreviation for the second game is TIP. So don't get weird with me. But speaking of weird, let's take a look back at this weird little game with its weird little lore. Because the main question today is... Back in the early 2000s, every game studio and their mother was trying to find their Pokemon. And I don't mean searching through tall grass, I mean trying to find a franchise that could rival the money-pooping beast that was taking over every child's brain like a virus. And Microsoft was no different. They had recently acquired the game studio Rare, who made timeless classics like the Banjo-Kazooie series and the Donkey Kong Country games. But Microsoft came to them and said, "Hello Rare, the most British company I've ever seen in my life. How would you like to make a game based on Spanish culture?" And Rare said,
So I was having this paella.
Taco.
"Okay, wait, we've actually never even heard of Mexico? Are you sure you want us to do this?" And then, without a second thought, Microsoft said, "Yes, please," and Viva Piñata was born. The idea was simple. You get a little garden, you plant some seeds, clean up some trash, and then soon enough, colorful little nightmare animals are starting to live there. Yeah, wholesome, right? Wrong! Because then the game says, "Alright, awesome. Why don't you play a minigame to
Make those animals bang.
Oh, and then ship their kids off to parties so they can get obliterated with sticks." Oh, but don't worry. The devs dance around that little issue by saying the piñatas love going to parties and dying. So essentially, it's Pokemon-like. Your main objective is to collect them all, breed them all, and force them into manual labor for your profit. Which, honestly, is the most British thing I can think of. But it's not just that. Because the deeper you go, the more this game stops feeling like a relaxing gardening sim and starts feeling like a capitalist zoo where your best friends are either working, dying, or getting eaten alive. But there's also something kind of beautiful about it. And in a world where we know just how horrific and messed up some of the Pokemon lore was supposed to be, it does not surprise me one bit that this game fits into the same category. Basically, make something colorful and shiny enough, kids will love it, and overlook any moral gray areas their parents might be concerned about. And I'll be honest, it got me as a kid. I got hooked, for sure. So let's take a minute to really focus down on why this game was one of my childhood favorites. And no, it's not just because it taught me the invaluable lesson that the best way to keep your pets in line is by caving their skulls in with a shovel. No, it was mainly because of the... Alright, so let's talk about the vibes. Because at first, Viva Piñata feels like
sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
I mean, the sky is always bright, the soundtrack sounds like it was made by a fairy orchestra on Xanax, and everything just makes you feel good. It lulls your brain into thinking it's a wholesome, healthy game, just pure gardening fun. You start to think, man, I'm really improving myself and the world around me. Meanwhile, my Newtgats and Lickitoads are engaged in a decade-long blood feud, fueled by my callous capitalist quest. I wrote that when I was very stoned. And that is where the devs decided to toss in their screwed up little food chain. Because underneath all those
Lollipops and rainbows
lies one of the most brutal ecosystems ever put into a kid's game. They start you small, with a little worm. You go, wow, this dude's adorable. I like him a lot. I'm gonna name him Alexander the Great. And then you move on. Then the next day, the game goes, hey, want a bird? And you say, well, yeah, that sounds fun. And then you watch that bird eat Alexander the Great alive while you just stand there wondering if you should stop it. But you don't. Because as soon as Alexander the Great dies, the disembodied voices of children break out in cheers. It's kinda terrifying. So after that traumatic experience, you say, screw that, I'm moving on to something less harmful. I'll get a bunny, they're cute, and they for sure won't eat anyone. But then, the game comes back at you like, bet you actually want a fox though. And you say, yeah I do. and then you watch your new hoppy friend get devoured again. It's basically like that one Planet Earth scene with the lizards escaping, but this time, the snakes win. And it only gets darker from there, because to attract new species, most of the time, you have to feed them one of your oldest friends, and their entire bloodline. It's this constant loop of violence, breeding, and replacement that turns your cute little garden into like a papier-mâché Hunger Games. And by the end, I found there was absolutely no way I could stay attached to any of them. I started seeing all my piñatas as commodities, but seeing your lessers as a means of increasing your own wealth? Once again, the most British thing I can think of. Oh wait, no, actually, the most British thing I can think of in this game is the breeding system, because half the time you have to get a little incestual. That's right, half these family trees are starting to look more like a straight line. But the game doesn't care, because, hey MF, it's time to dance! Forget about who's banging who! Yes, you might be playing God with extremely questionable morals, but that's the magic of Viva Piñata. The chaos is disguised as charm, and the violence is camouflaged in confetti. So we talked a little bit about the game and why I feel like an emotionless robot playing it sometimes, but let's get down to the real meat of this game. Or I guess the real candy. It's time to talk about our favorite colorful, murderous cousin kissers. Let's talk about the... Every piñata's name is based off some kind of candy or candy adjacent thing, but that's actually a lie. Because there are some whose name is literally just like pistachio or camel or cluckles or gooba. I mean, what the hell is that? Some of these seem lazy as hell, but turn the other butt cheek and you see just how absurdly clever some of these names are. I mean, genuinely, some of them had me going, "Oh, I say, jolly good show, sir," as a kid. And when looking at the designs, half of them are awesome, and the other half have me scratching my head asking if the dev snorted a pixie stick before making them. So, let's break down some of the goats and some of the nopes. Fudge Hog, based on fudge. Gotta be the ugliest MF in this entire game. Yeah, he might seem cute on the surface, but honestly, I think he just looks like one half of the world's droopiest nutsack.
You got long balls, Larry. Long balls. You got long ass balls.
I've got long balls.
Sherbet, based on sherbet. Holy smokes, talk about a downgrade. When I first saw this in its sour form, I was absolutely stoked. I was gonna make my own little sherbet cave. Anyways, but then you see the normal version, and all I could think was,
That's it?
foreheads. Based on, what the hell is this thing based on? I guess warheads? Damn, I literally never got that until right now. Imagine being born as the smallest snake on a four-headed nightmare. Oh, and you're also relegated to be the butthole snake for your whole life. Also, not a joke, the only way to get one of these is to literally beat a baby so it becomes deformed. Absolute L all around. Taffly, based on taffy. This thing just looks like the vacuum from Teletubbies. I will not elaborate further. Lickitung, Lickatoad, based on licorice. This is an annoying ass frog. I mean, just look at its dumb, stupid face. And yes, I am biased because of the show, but these little bastards kept fighting my sweet little newt gats. Low-key always felt nice to smack the daylights out of these things with my Animal Abuser 5000. So we went over a couple of these sour stinkers. Let's move on to the goats. And surprisingly, there is no goat in this game. Donut, based on a muffin. This is my quintessential piñata in this game. The colors are gorgeous and the little sounds this dude makes fill me with glee. Also, their house is a disco club where you know for a fact people are doing lines of crushed up sprinkles on the weekends. Muju, based on Jujubee. That's kind of a stretch. I am moose, they are moose, we are all moose. But setting my bias aside, these things are perfect and I have zero notes. Rorio, based on Oreo. We're back, it makes sense. Should I be worried about putting a lion in the same area as my deer and other prey? Yes. Do I care? Not in the slightest, because this dude is the most stunning thing you can capture in this game. So,
Good luck, everybody else.
Swanana, based on banana. I'm not saying Swanana. This piñata makes me feel poor and judged. I love every bit of it. Galagugu, based on the Goo Goo Cluster candy bar, another weird British thing. This is my favorite piñata of all time, and I am not joking at all. When I played this game as a kid, I was obsessed with these little dudes, and every single time I load this game back up, I honestly feel incomplete until I get one of them. Which sucks because goddamn are these dudes hard to get. There's like 16 different steps, and most of them require 16 different. But there's math. I'm not going into it. But whatever. I love weird little pink cat creatures. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that my favorite Pokemon of all time is Mew, and hot damn, do they look similar. Tiger Misu, based on the best cake of all time, tiramisu. I fully understand that this is just a tiger. I mean, they barely made any changes from the base model IRL, but it's really one of the best looking piñatas in my opinion. And it also runs like a champion. Cherapin, based on cherries. These dudes are in the GOAT spot because of how dope I think it would be to blaze with them. And you cannot tell me I'm wrong. I mean, their house is literally the TMNT base. Big immediate thumbs up. And finally, we have our lovely little fella, the Worm, based on whirls. Another British thing I do not know about. We can both do the same dance. And honestly, that's really all I need when looking at whether I like a piñata or not. And those were just a couple of the piñatas that I try to keep in my garden at all times. Because once you've raised, named, and accidentally murdered about half of the animal kingdom, it starts to hit you. Viva Piñata is not a game about gardening. It's about tailoring the world to your choosing. When looking back on this ADHD-riddled game, my mind always goes towards happy memories. Times filled with bright colors and increasingly loose morals. And honestly, when replaying it now, I never came across one bad moment. Sure, there are things that seem annoying or make you scratch your head, but really when getting down to it, every single aspect of this game is enjoyable. And with so many garden simulator games nowadays doing well, why not bring back one of the time-honored classics? I think we're due for another Viva Piñata. Maybe bring in some more piñatas, maybe make it open world, and maybe give me a Piñata Obliterator 9000. Because when I look back on it now, Viva Piñata feels like the perfect little time capsule of what gaming used to be. It wasn't trying to be safe or simple or even make sense. It just wanted to be itself. And that's a lot more than most games can say nowadays. And I also think there's something beautiful about remembering a time when Microsoft's big idea was, yeah, let's have British people make a game about Mexican candy animals who engage in inbreeding and murder. The kids are gonna love it. So, what the hell was Viva Piñata? It was chaos, it was charm, it was capitalism, all wrapped into one. And honestly, it was kind of perfect. Oh, I forgot I needed my microphone. Hey, thanks for watching. Honestly, I was so excited to make this video. I was not kidding when I said that I was obsessed with this as a kid, and honestly, I really hope that that love came across. We got a lot more videos coming, so make sure you subscribe to see them all. But I honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I think 3 might have been too much. Look at this mark, my God. But now, if you'll excuse me, I got some worms to inbreed. Yeehaw.